What's going on, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? You know what time it is. Episode 77 in the mix, big baby. Before we get started, you know what time it is. I'm your host, Gaddis TV. If you got yourself an iPhone and or an Android, do yourself a favor, download the FTX app and stay up to date with the latest cryptocurrencies and NFTs. Without further ado, I am your host, Gaddis TV. What's going on, y'all? And let's get to it. Alrighty, and we are live and direct. So first off, Farron, and if I misspelled that's my bad, bro. I want to say thank you for coming on, taking some time out of your overall evening now, and talking a little bit about yourself and a little bit about Honey DeFi. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Hey, 100%. Usually how we started off, because a lot of people will know, I guess, of you in the project which I got going on. For some of the, I guess, few people that don't. Quick background, what were you doing overall before crypto? How did you find Solana? You know, how did the whole crypto thing start with I guess, yourself?
Sure. So some of the backstory. Well, it's not terribly interesting, but we started just with a group of friends trying to kind of understand as much as we could about like the world of finance. At first, it was just really educational, understanding yield, and that was like pre-corona. So I think the world of finance changed a lot after that. So just a lot of like fundamental analysis is what we were doing with some friends. And then yeah, that evolved into discovering Bitcoin. I come from more of an economic background, like economics, less technical. So Bitcoin was just incredibly interesting, researching it as much as I could, and then the idea of like yield and DeFi. That led us to building some freelance apps, gaining experience just doing some of that. And then probably about a year ago, we started to really take it seriously. So yeah, just building some small time apps, some Solidity development, got a bit more technical with Ethereum and Ethereum development, product management. So yeah, actually not a lot of people know, but this project started on Ethereum and then we pivoted to Solana. So
Why was
I,
that, if you don't mind me asking?
yeah, so first of all, like we started on Ethereum because that's what we knew how to do.
Mm-hmm.
Building on Solidity was just incredibly easy. For those who don't know, Solidity is the smart contract programming language that you build programs on for Ethereum. And Solana uses Rust, which is just a lot more complicated. But yeah, I mean, once Phantom Wallet came out, I think that was kind of the turning point for us. We were like, oh wow, so now there's like this amazing UX. And at the end, like the idea was always to have NFTs that you get yield on it, but you don't really care about the blockchain. We just wanted to get the blockchain that had the best user experience. And the idea was like, can we get this Web3 app to have like a Robinhood fintech kind of UI UX? And then on the back end, you don't really care if it's Solana, Ethereum, Avalanche. So Solana seemed like the best choice to start out to offer that fintech user experience.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, nowadays like the network's a little bit more troubled, a little bit more congested. So in the long term, I think we'll get there. But it was very, very challenging to pivot to Solana.
Nice. With I guess with your background, kind of I guess economics that way. When when you first heard, I guess, about cryptocurrency in general, I guess it's probably like the Bitcoin stuff like that. Um, was that, I guess, just kind of like you said, like a year and a half ago, things like that, or when you first heard it? I guess hindsight, did you ever see yourself like, I guess, doing something into the like in the realm of crypto that way, or was it just like, oh, this is cool? You know, I heard some guy buy 4,000 Bitcoin worth of pizza in a shitty store, but like, did you ever see yourself in the world of crypto, like doing what you're doing now?
Yeah, I mean, I always came from like more of the business side of crypto. So originally like we were just starting businesses, and the first like crypto business that we tried was PayPal with Bitcoin and these different things. So we were always kind of experimenting with different businesses, even before we knew what crypto was. And then the idea, what was really amazing about crypto was we can actually use this decentralized infrastructure, and people will just accept a lot more things in the world of crypto. Like when you're trying to build a startup, if you build it with a crypto community, I think it just moves a lot faster. It's just so much more exciting and you can do a heck of a lot more. So for me, that was like, oh, if we're going to start a project, it should really be in the world of crypto where there's all this opportunity, right? Like the growth that we're seeing in crypto right now, the closest comparison is probably like the internet in 2001. So that's clearly where we want to be. And then it was a question of learning as much as we could during like that period of a couple months, probably around Corona.
Heard that. With I guess with y'all's project, now you said it was I guess you some friends. How many people are behind I guess Honey, and how long did it I guess take? Was it just that year?
Yeah.
Um, from starting it, or how was that initial conversation saying, hey guys, let's bring it here? Was it 1 month, 2 months, a year and a half? Like how long did that time? How long was that?
Yeah, I mean, that was a really long time ago, actually. I mean, I say really long time, like maybe 12 months.
For sure.
But you know, we we were just grinding it out on Ethereum for a very, very long time. And it just felt like we weren't making any progress. The like NFTs was booming, but nobody had really heard of like staking or doing anything with PFPs. And that wasn't what was fun about NFTs at the time. What was fun was like, oh, Steph Curry just bought like a new NFT. And those were the headlines, and people didn't really care about much more than that. So at the same time, I would say that we were like a little bit too early. Um, in the white paper, like we talk about how these are not just JPEGs, they're also, amazing ways to connote value in a unique way for maybe insurance or different assets like that. So that was probably a little bit ahead of its time in crypto, so like a couple months. And then, yeah, that was just grinding it out for maybe 5 or 6 months. And then once we did the whole staking, that's when like our marketing just skyrocketed. So that was in until I'd say October is when things really started to pick up. And so that was maybe 3 or 4 people working on the project. Today there's 12 people working on the project in some capacity. So yeah, since then we've grown a lot.
Nice. With I guess with the people that are listening that are randomly hit the YouTube link, like, oh, what is this Honey? They're thinking about bees or something like that. On a quick, I guess, realm, what is Honey DeFi? I guess like what do y'all do? Even if you can be as technical as you want, or as people like me, which are not as crypto savvy, I can go Google something else. Like, what do y'all do? What is
Yeah.
Honey?
So, I mean, I see right now on our page it says NFT liquidity. That's kind of I guess, for a term for people who are already in the Solana space. Like, what we do is we try to build financial infrastructure around NFTs. So, why do we do that? Because we're very familiar with DeFi, so decentralized finance. The everybody on the team loves DeFi. We think it's the future for just like billions of people. But what we also see is that the user experience and there's just a lot of issues with the growth of DeFi. And we've seen that the metaverse and NFTs is growing at a much faster rate than what decentralized finance is growing at. So for us, what makes the most sense is that the way you're going to engage with these new financial primitives of tomorrow, right, this DeFi, is going to be through the metaverse. It's going to be through your NFTs, because those are being adopted by the mainstream much more efficiently and much more effectively. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to serve as kind of an entry point into this new financial world through the means of people's NFTs. And we do that through plenty of different verticals. The main one is lending and borrowing. So that's where you deposit an NFT as collateral, you obtain a loan, and then we provide plenty of options for these loans. Another one is farming. So that's where you stake your NFT and you receive tokens in return. That's more of like a capital efficiency kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
where what are you doing with your NFT? Well, maybe it can generate some kind of yield. We're really interested in yield with NFTs. So farming is another way to get that done. And then we have a bunch of other verticals that we're working on and that'll come out relatively soon.
With question, and it might be a silly question because again, like I said, I'll be the first one to be like, hey, I get crypto, but I'm not no coder or anything like that. Um, is it a big thing? Like, it's a big difference from like a regular DeFi and then adding in, I guess like the PFPs, like NFTs, things like that. Is that I guess different, new in that sense of it, and then how do y'all gain the value of those NFTs? Is it just from like the floor average stuff like that, or um, I guess how do those metrics work without giving y'all's like back end stuff away? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, we can, like, it's open source code, so anybody who's interested after this can go on our GitHub and check it out. But the main thing is we are a DeFi protocol first, and then we worry about NFTs. So where we provide value and where we build as developers is on the interest rate models, on the whole financial infrastructure of things. Making it work with NFTs is the difficult part that we're trying to innovate upon. So yeah, the idea of like let's use our NFTs as a loan is like for a loan is a very simple idea. People have tried it in the past, people have failed. Everybody, it's such a simple idea. Why hasn't everybody done it? And so there's a couple like really big problems, a couple really big hurdles that have to be overcome. The first is the one that you mentioned. How do you price these assets? If you're going to use them as collateral, well, you have to value this collateral. And by definition, all these NFTs have different values, either intrinsically or subjectively. So what we try to do is we want to have the most simple approach possible, first of all, and just using like basic statistics to try and gather, um, what kind of liquidity can we help source for these NFTs. Keeping it simple is not just because it's easy to build. It's also when we're eventually going to want to liquidate, and that's the second problem is how do you sell this collateral if the loan isn't paid back? Well, if you overcomplicate things, if you find the exact value of the NFT to like the penny, then you're not going to have effective liquidations at that price. You need to act. What we're interested in as a protocol that needs to sell your collateral, and again, we're getting a bit technical. I'll route it back.
Oh,
But what
good,
we're
good, good.
interested in is securing those liquidations and making sure that the price that we quote is the price that we know we're going to be able to get liquidity at this price. So yeah, those are the two big problems that have to be overcome for anybody who wants to do this is how do you price the NFTs and how do you sell the NFTs off in case you have to. So the pricing, it is based on the floor price originally.
Mm-hmm.
So the floor price is like the lowest price at which an NFT is being sold in a collection. And what's great about it is that it tells you kind of where the aggregate supply is, like the most liquidity is going to be floating at that floor price. And that's great for us because it tells us, oh, well, there's liquidity at this range, at this price interval, and that's where we're going to be able to sell it, more or less. So when you deposit an NFT on the protocol, what we'll do is we'll look at some of the history, some of the financial history of it. So we look at the last couple of days, and we see, what is on a moving average, what is this price been floating around? We take this average, and then we look at the volatility. Based on the volatility, we say, oh, this is not a really safe loan. You should probably get like a lot of collateral to get a small loan. Or if there's very low volatility, we can say, oh, well, you might not need as much collateral. And so then for the liquidations, we use different protocols such as Solvent, and they have these pools of liquidity that are basically waiting for us to liquidate these assets. And so those are the two really important parts of the picture that we're able to group together in the product. Um, so, and one thing that I'll add, because I don't want any like misunderstanding sometimes when we explain what we do, people are like, oh, so you issue loans, but we don't. So what we actually do is we allow people to create what we call lending markets on our platform. So the Honey protocol, it's a bunch of lending markets. Lending markets are individuals who will create basically a page on our site. And on this page, you're going to have lenders that are going to pool liquidity into a pool. And then you're going to have borrowers who are going to borrow from this pool. When they create these lending markets, they're going to decide how the NFTs are valued. So we have our own oracle, but we also have other oracles that work great. And people in the space are always building new oracles, always building new tech. And we say when you select a lending market, you get to decide how is the value going to be determined? Who are we going to use for the liquidations? So right now I'm like giving you a bunch of answers, but those are just the recommended features of our website. Um, People will get to choose whatever alternatives they want when they're using the platform.
No, no, I like it. And I guess question with that as well. I think you explained some of it as well. I guess with the lending pools, things like that. Honestly, that was gonna be the question on where does the money come from, or was it just you and your team have done exponentially well in crypto, and you got 14 billion, no, not exactly, but a lot in the bank, and that's how it's done that way, or is it like the lending pools? I guess where is that where most of the money comes from, or is it?
Yeah.
Um,
So, I mean, that wouldn't be like terribly scalable. So, what we try to do is like the most scalable open approach. And that means how can we incentivize lenders to provide liquidity for these loans? Um, Often, what you'll see is there's kind of been two approaches so far for NFTs. Either you have the peer-to-peer approach, and that's really easy because you find a lender and they get to decide what collateral they provide liquidity to. And there you have a matching that's done between lender and borrower. That's really simple to keep track of. When you have, but that's not instant. So some other solutions that exist on the market, they'll have instant liquidity, but they'll need a pool that is owned by one lender because they receive the full NFT as collateral in exchange for um, giving out these loans, and that requires a ton of capital from one individual. So when we talk about onboarding the next like billion users from the metaverse, that's not really feasible to just say like, oh, here's our massive bank of liquidity that we're gonna give out. So what we need to do is just leverage like free market economics in our lending markets to say, oh, well, we're gonna through competition between lenders and borrowers allow for the best interest rate to rise, and this interest rate is going to be competitive on the market for lenders to come in and for borrowers to take liquidity. So we just want to again keep it simple, let free market economics just do its job to incentivize lenders to come on the platform.
Nice. No, I like it. It's probably a question I should have asked beforehand. With the actual name, Honey, how did y'all come up with that one? One of y'all like a bee farmer, or just absolutely love honey itself, or how did that come? Because y'all have NFTs and everything as well, and I'll get to that in a quick second. But how did the name come about?
The name came about because it's kind of like a random, like serendipitous series of events. But basically, it was really easy to like form a community around the idea of like a hive. We were always just really interested in like bees and bee charities and different things like that. So originally, I kind of wanted to focus on a project that was like bee themed. Um, that's it. It doesn't
No,
get
for
like
sure. No, I like it.
it's a pretty simple answer, but it's actually helped us a lot for the marketing. Again, like we haven't focused a lot on marketing as much as like product development. And what's been great about Honey is that when we partner with collections, they're like Honey is just a very easy thing to integrate into a bunch of subjects. So when we did like a partnership with Rogue Sharks, they had like their sharks, in honey and like pesky penguins, like a similar thing. So that ended up being like very just lucky and serendipitous. So yeah, I'm happy that we won with the name, but it's a little bit random, I have to admit.
It works. So, like you said, I mean, it's even easy to remember, like in journal. You know what I mean? So, uh, props on the maybe accident, maybe not on that one, but no, for sure in there. I guess with y'all's NFTs, you had it was 10,000, correct? For I guess do people have to have NFT to be on y'all's platform? How does that
Yeah.
work?
So the priority with making the NFT was not making it an access token. And this is one thing that I really like despise about NFTs sometimes, and that's why I'm gonna rant about it right now. It's
Good.
when NFTs are used to like gatekeep certain features or certain aspects of a product. we're building a product for as many people as possible, and like we're building it to help people. So we're not gonna only help like a finite number of people. So when you go on our platform, the loan to value that you'll get, the rates that you'll pay, everything is the same for everyone, regardless of if you get an NFT or not. The NFT is just supposed to capture value from our success. That's the only purpose of the NFT. So the NFT is going to receive honey tokens over a 2-year period of time, and those tokens can be vested in order to receive protocol revenue if the DAO decides to distribute protocol revenue or not. That'll be completely just a decision of the DAO. And so it gets these tokens, and the idea is we create value like for free for everybody as much as possible, and then how that value is captured with the NFTs and with the tokens that these NFTs will receive.
Is I guess is that one of the reasons why I guess y'all have y'all's code open source? Because like you said, you want to help people. So if there's only I guess y'all's NFTs, certain things like I guess, is that why it's open source? And then on I guess coder wise, business wise, realistically, is that I guess does that scare y'all to an extent where say if some other coder comes up and takes the code and it makes Honey 2.0, like are things like that realistically maybe not issues but things y'all think about? Or is it even if Gaddis takes it up and we got a Honey 2.0, like y'all are the OGs for doing it, like how does something like that work?
I mean, yeah, so the open source question is like especially tricky on Solana because it's very common on Ethereum. Like every protocol on Ethereum is open source. On Solana, that's not really the case. So first of all, it would have been a little bit hypocritical of us to not be open source just because what we've built is based on open source code. Everything that we've learned and everything that we've built upon, it's, Andre Kronya, Daniele Sesta, Stani Kulachov, all these open source developers from DeFi that have built these just amazing protocols. So if we were to just take all of their ideas and build upon what they've built and stand on their shoulders and then make it closed source, like that could not succeed to the level that it's worked for them. Also, this community of developers is outstanding. If they wanted to do what we do and make it open source and make it free, they could. Competitive advantages are very unclear, very vague. So I don't think that our tech is our competitive advantage. In fact, I know that it's not. That's why we open source it, because honestly, I don't even think that we have any value from just like keeping it to ourselves. Secondly, from a security perspective, we really do believe in the advantage of having open source code for white hat hackers to look at, to audit, and to just peer review. We've even certain protocols that we've worked with. So when we built the protocol, we forked other applications and other programs, and we found exploits in their code, and we warned them about it. And then, like, I'm sure that maybe one day they'll do the same for us. It's this ecosystem of developers helping each other out, and that's how it all works together. Closed source, I think the people who are building in closed source are just building in a silo that will like not grow as fast. So yeah, to be part of that ecosystem, we have to be open source, and I'm not worried about it because I don't think it's our competitive advantage. Our competitive advantage is our community of holders. It's the liquidity that we're going to be able to provide. You can fork the code, but you can't fork the millions of dollars of TVL or the liquidity in the protocol. So yeah, I think that's why we made that decision, and I hope that it becomes a little bit more common on Solana.
Nice. And hopefully will. Again, I'm not a coder, so I can't say it will. But I mean, again, like you said, it's. I think the analogy of, as you said, like standing in like on top of someone else's shoulder and making everything get done. I guess I don't know. I was just thinking about like a big old. I was watching YouTube last night. If you can't tell, some people are in a big ass pool. You know what I mean? There's no water in there, and they literally were standing on top of each other's shoulders just to get out, and then literally helping each other out. So it's kind of random you said that, but that's how it is, and it literally makes everyone better to an extent. Because even like other projects we've had, it doesn't matter if it's been NFT like art projects or other protocols. It's always been, and correct me if I'm wrong on this one. I guess have y'all had any help or things like that? Because it seems like the Solana community I haven't really been in ETH, so I don't want to be someone who hate me for asking this, but is the Solana community nicer, more helpful than the ETH community, or like
Well,
how
it's
is
it's kind of
that?
like a small city compared to like New York. You
For
go to New
sure.
York and nobody knows each other, nobody really talks to each other. Here it's a tight-knit community that's all trying to help each other out. Like we're all dealing with the same like growth pains. So we're all, figuring it out. Like just the other day, for the last week, those who maybe aren't interacting with like programs on Solana, they've really been struggling because the the programs are built upon tech that expects transactions to go through in less than 30 seconds. But because the network is congested, that hasn't been happening, and a lot of protocols, a lot of apps on Solana just aren't working well. And then you have all these builders who came up with these different solutions and just shared them. Um, so because we're all dealing with these problems, we all find solutions and share it with each other like very, very fast because the community is quite small. But I've seen that scale quite well. So I don't know how it'll look once we reach the size of what Ethereum is at today. But I do have to say it is like quite close together. And I think a lot of that has to do with the way that Solana Labs has organized just the way that developers talk to each other.
Nice. With Honey DeFi, I mean, what are I guess some things that y'all are excited about right now that either one y'all have been working on? I saw a tweet, that you're working on some stuff, but like, what are some of the stuff that you and your team are excited about from either day one to now, or what are those things y'all are working on?
Yeah, I mean, the closest thing in terms of like timeline is just the mainnet launch of our protocol. So we've been testing it for so long now. So for those who don't know, again, there's like mainnet is the programs that everybody uses on Solana, and then developers will build stuff on the devnet beforehand. And so we've built our protocol on the devnet, and we've been testing it for like a month, and just like fine tuning it, going through each of the edge cases, making sure that from like a security perspective that it made sense. The math is just incredibly complicated behind it. You have to find the edge cases in the math. So once we can finally just deploy that, it'll be just a huge sigh of relief from our entire team. And then we want to build so many different things on top of that. One of the things that I'm particularly excited about are the peer-to-peer loans that we want to build on top of our protocol. So the protocol is really optimized for like floor price NFTs. But what if you have an extremely rare NFT? Then somebody should be able to go on, your collateral and say, I'm willing to give you a better rate, and then you should be able to accept it. So these kinds of like plug and play features, this modular approach is what I'm really excited about. Once we deploy on the mainnet, we're going to have all these different modules that we can add on top of our program. And, that's when like the builders on our team are just going to be incredibly excited to work on all these small, incredibly interesting projects. So yeah, once we can deploy on mainnet, I think we'll see just a rate of innovation in our team that personally is what I'm really looking for.
Nice. Any word on maybe when that will be? Next day, tomorrow, week? Don't want to get you in
Yeah.
trouble, you and the team. But any word on when?
So right now, in terms of like our timelines for when we're going to put stuff out, we have our IDO on the 30th of March. So before the IDO, what we're going to have is we're going to deploy on DevNet for everybody else to test. Just because, before the IDO, it's normal that people will get to see how it works and everything like that. And then again, before the IDO, we're going to have this huge redesign of our user interface. Again, I talked about this at the very beginning. We really want to go for something that's like fintech, very intuitive, very easy. That's not where we're at right now. I'm not satisfied with the UI at all. And so we've been working on it for like 3 weeks. We built a new repo from scratch and we said, it has to be like so simple to use and so Web3 and so easy and just like one click, everything is ready. So that's going to be ready, I'm hoping, sometime next week.
Nice.
And then the DevNet, I'm assuming will launch sometime around that same period. Um, so yeah, I think we kind of have this self-imposed deadline of the 30th for the IDO, and we want to get stuff out before then. So that's when people can expect us to see some updates.
Nice. No, I like it, and I like because I mean, we haven't like talked before. I like just the I guess authenticness with you on just you can tell like you like the little statement on hey like I'm not happy with it like I want to make it better like I don't know it's just it says volumes so granted good on you for
Thank
that one with
It's very obvious to us. Like,
yeah
we just have a very clear idea of what it should be, and we know when it's just like not that.
not it
So we'll keep iterating until it is.
with projects and I guess correct me if I'm wrong on this one as well. Like you said, it's open source. Like different projects can use y'all's I guess platform to
Mhm.
is it I guess stake and do stuff like that. And do they get honey on that end or like
Yeah.
say I make a
So
NFT project and I get in contact with you. How does something like that work?
yeah, so that's something that we set up. So staking as a service. Again, this whole like we have these two verticals, the farms and the lending and borrowing. So the farms, we kind of made it like um, when we saw that staking was just a really interesting mechanism, we were like, oh, we built lending and borrowing, and the collateral is actually like it works in a very similar way. Let's just tweak a few things and publish it as like farms. And that ended up being just incredibly successful. So um, and that is open source. The V2 is open source. The V3 is built upon already open source code. And so right now on the platform, the way that it works is with the latest version of what we call these farms for NFT staking, you can, as a project, reach out to us. We provide staking as a service. So for the price of 10 SOL, we host you on our platform and we create a farm for you. We help you with your tokenomics if we have the time, to be honest. And then we just set everything up for you, and then that's 10 SOL. And soon it'll be permissionless, so any project can just go on the website and they'll have a page and they select their different parameters and then they deploy the program and it's just hosted automatically. So that'll be incredibly scalable and that'll be within like a month or so. Um, so again, we're just testing that. But projects can already reach out to us and we'll set it up for them just manually. And if they don't want to go through Honey, if they just want to do it themselves, again, it is open source code. But the visibility and the distribution that Honey brings, I think is it's great. And so that's what projects are really seeking. Um, and also now that we're seeing the staking trend on Solana, we have like dozens of different projects, big projects that are staking, and you have people who are every day going on like 5 or 6 different websites to claim their rewards. So what Honey's doing is it's going to aggregate a bunch of different farms. So you'll be able to go on Honey and you'll be able to claim, your dust from DeGods as well as your honey from the honeybees. And that'll just be all in one place and a much easier user experience. So the idea is, yeah, we do have all this open source code for people to use, but the value is actually in the visibility, the distribution, the community, and everything that goes around the programs.
No, like I read honestly what you were just saying on that one, and a lot of people probably already in the crypto scene, like they already like you said, it might be 5, 6 different sites, but they know how to do it. You know what I mean? It's just click, 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 compared to the the mom and pop. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. That's gonna be like you said, the user experience would be that much just easier. You know what I mean? And just simplistic. So it again, someone listening might be like, "Oh, that it's not that bad. I can get 5 different things open." But at the same time, like you said, when scalability, I think that's a huge thing that I'm glad y'all are thinking of because again, I know my crypto stuff at the same time. I'd be like, "Shit, where do I need to go again?" Fuck, instead of just one click, like I'm about that life. Um,
Yeah, I mean, I'm like quite forgetful, so I know that there's an NFT or two that's like in a different staking program that I'm just gonna lose. So it's nice to also have it in one place and be like, oh, you have an NFT here, like don't forget about it. It's not on that one website that you have to go on every day.
mhm.
So I know that that's also something people are worried about.
And then question not to I guess like knock other projects or protocols stuff like that, but like you said, more things are I guess coming out. Why why would someone go to Honey DeFi compared to like another protocol? Again, not trying to start shit or anything like that, but again, the competition's always great. You know what I mean? So what I guess what's the advantage of y'all?
Yeah. So I think the first thing that first of all, there's nothing wrong with those protocols. We work with them all the time. We love the teams that are building there, and you'd be surprised how often people who are seen as competitors are actually working together on the same problems and helping each other out. I think that's something that people don't see like behind the scenes, but it does happen a lot more than you'd think. But then what we try to do differently from these protocols is some protocols will give out loans, like in the ways that I said before, peer-to-peer or a pool method. I think Sharkify is doing this really interesting like mix of the two. What we're trying to do is really allow people to create lending markets, and then our bet is that through economics and economic principles, you'll just get the best rates through competition between lenders and borrowers, or like between themselves, but within a market. So what we're saying, because we have this lending market approach where anybody can create a lending market, that's how we believe that it'll source more liquidity, and that we'll just get much better rates on with this approach, this open approach, rather than one person dictating the rates. So being as open as possible, being as modular as possible. In everything that we do, we always have this like plug and play approach where if there's something, for instance, the farms, you like the way that the farms work, but you want to add something on top, it's very easy to do because we have all of our code that's, easy to access and for people to build upon. So the modularity of our protocol is probably the second biggest benefit why developers would go to it and launch their projects on top of us, and then we create a moat of all these different projects that have launched with Honey. Like we've partnered with 83 different projects so far,
Oh,
and
nice.
those are part of our ecosystem now, and are working with us for all of our different verticals. And that's our third, I'd say, competitive advantage is now that we have different verticals. So we have, farming, we have the loans that are going to come out, and we have these different things that we're working on. These can operate together and form synergies in ways that other protocols who only focus on one can't really achieve. So I'll take like a simple example. Maybe you want to use like your DGods NFT as collateral. Why not through the Honey protocol stake it and earn yield on this collateral, and then that collateral, the loan will be paid down with what it's yielding. So those are just incredibly interesting synergies that you can only do if you really master each of your verticals, each of these different programs, and that's the kind of in business that they call it economies of scope, and that's what we're trying to build with each of the things that we develop. And every time that we add a new feature, it just integrates with our previous features. So whereas we see what a lot of people are doing now is they're really focusing on one, and we've been able to scale the team to work on many at the same time. So I think that that's where the value comes for the end user, and ultimately they'll get to decide.
No, I like it. The last couple questions, because just look at the time. I already got you past the 30-minute mark, which apparently I'm infamous at doing that because I feel like every podcast I do, I'm always like, oh shit, my bad, guys. So the last couple ones, with the, I was gonna say, I guess something like that. Say, example in mind. Say like I put a ThugBird on there, or I try to get, I guess, collateral, or again, I don't know the proper wording, but say I'm lending it out there and I don't pay it back. How does that work? Do you like take the NFT, or
Sure.
what happens with that?
So yeah, that's probably something that people should understand because that's like the number one risk is, what happens to your NFT, and what is that risk of happening? So when you deposit your NFT, let's say that it has a floor price of like 30 SOL. You deposit 30 SOL worth of collateral, and you might, extract like 10 SOL worth of liquidity. That's what we call an over collateralized loan, right? Your collateral is worth more than the loan. So you have this loan right now, and there's two ways in which you can lose the NFT. Either the value of the NFT tanks, and so, if you take out 10 SOL and you gave us 30 SOL, we always have to keep the value of the collateral more than the loan that we gave you, or else we're losing money. Or I say us, but obviously this is the lending market. It's not us. But
I
so
got you.
um, you have, if the value of this collateral goes down, and let's say it's like 5 SOL all of a sudden, well, you're not going to be able to just like get it back. We're going to sell that NFT and try to get the money back. So if the value of your collateral goes down, then you reach what we call a liquidation threshold. And we show this really simply in the UI. You have a health bar. Obviously, the red of that health bar is not where you want to be. And then, the more you pay down your loan, or the healthier your loan is, the more you'll be in the green. So Another way that you can get liquidated, that you can lose the NFT, another risk is if you never pay back your loan. So this is, I think people who've gotten loans in like the real world, they'll be able to just like identify this. We use variable interest rates. So what happens is every day or every second, the interest rate just accrues on your position. So every minute you have a tiny bit more interest that you have to pay back to the protocol. This builds up, and if it builds up too much, then you owe us more than you've given us, or you reach the liquidation threshold again. So those are the two ways that you like. Those are the two biggest risks. Either you never pay down your collateral and you let too much interest accrue, or the value of the collateral that you've given us just goes down. And in both of those cases, it'll reach a liquidation threshold. And that's when we're able to sell the NFT and pay back the lenders that have given you the loan. And then you can keep the loan, but you'll have lost the collateral that you provided.
I heard that. And then question, because I remember watching one of the, I could probably pull it up here on the, yeah, I think it's the most recent one with y'all's video with the health bar. I guess after
Mhm.
you pay a certain amount of it, does the health bar itself go up, or do you look like
Yeah.
another NFT picture and that just shows what it is on there? How
So
how and what was that?
that health bar isn't the one that we're going to use in the final product. Like
Okay.
was just for testing so that people can understand that there is going to be a health bar.
Heard.
It'll be a health bar. I mean, just like in a normal video game, I think, or when you see it go from like red to orangish, then yellow, then green, or like vice versa. So that health bar will just indicate basically the what we call the loan to value. So if you have a loan to value of 100%, that means that you've given us collateral worth 100 SOL and that we've given you 100 SOL worth of liquidity. That's not really feasible because if it goes down 0.1%, we're already at a loss. So realistically, people should expect it to be in like the 30 to 50% range. That's what you see on DeFi protocols. And so I'd already be happy if we can provide like in the 30 to 50% range. But that'll just get better with time, as we really mature and as the protocol gets better at selling assets, and as there's just more volume, you'll be able to get more liquidity out of your NFTs because we'll just get better at it. So in the short term, I think people will see like 20 to 30% loans, and their health bars will start off relatively high. If you only borrow like 5% of the value of an NFT, then you'll be in the green on your health bar, like in most cases. So just make sure that you're always keeping a close eye on that health bar. We're going to try in many different ways to notify you about it, but at the end of the day, like you're responsible for your assets, and we can't sign transactions on your behalf. So just make sure that you keep a close eye on that health bar, or any other, um, like metric that we try to implement to help you gauge the health of your loan.
No, 100%. I guess with the hiccups y'all had on the way, what type of hiccups for people projects? Doesn't matter if they're trying to do protocols or NFTs. What I guess advice? Better question. What advice would they give you and your team? Hindsight, looking
Mhm.
back now, compared to when y'all first started. Like what tips? What would you tell people?
Yeah, I mean, I'll talk about like that period of time where we were on Ethereum and we were just really like grinding it out. That grind was completely useless. It was just like us thinking, oh, well, we have to do marketing. We have to do marketing. Like, no, you don't. You just have to build something that people actually want to use. And it took us months to figure that out, like much more time than it should have. And then once we built something that people actually wanted to use, that's when, it started working. So I know that there's a lot of projects that kind of launch and don't have any product. Um, they have like marketing geniuses or that know how to do it. You're probably not one of those geniuses if you're watching this. So just build something first, and then it'll be incredibly easy to, if people want to use it, it'll be incredibly easy to grow. Um, I'm hoping that we can do that with the future products that we build. But also, when you're trying to do this marketing thing, people will offer you like the solution, and their solution is you paying them a ridiculous amount of money. So, like, try not to do that. I think yeah, I'll have to like group up all the mistakes that we've made because we've made like so many mistakes. And I'm hoping that like other people can learn from it because yeah, and I think another thing is the only reason why like the project is semi-successful is just because we bothered to keep trying. And I mean, we had nothing to lose, so we just kept like at it and kept trying. I'm pretty convinced that in the NFT space, even if your project like doesn't sell out, even if it just seems like there's no community behind it, if you're still doing it like 4 months from now, I don't understand like why it won't be successful down the road. I think perseverance is incredibly effective in the NFT space.
No, I believe it on that as well. I guess the kind of last question. Was there, I guess, anything that we haven't really touched upon that you want to either let the community know, let people know about? I guess any closing comments.
Closing comments. Well, hopefully, if they want to join the community, they'll be able to test a lot of these new features. Something that we're working on right now that we haven't like formally announced, but that we're really excited about is these community testing events that we're going to be doing. So everything that we do, we want the community to test it first, and with like A/B testing, where different members of the community are incentivized to provide feedback. So that's always really exciting because you get to try out the product firsthand, and some of your feedback will be like directly implemented the next day. So
Nice.
that's something that I really recommend people to try out in our Discord. So yeah, hopefully you guys will be a part of that testing, and we want to be doing it on a very regular basis for just a very long time to just keep iterating. So if you're somebody who has like a Sunday afternoon to try out new features and talk with other people about them, I highly recommend it.
Nice. And for the people that are going to be listening, because we're going to have it on the audience on Spotify as well.
Yeah.
Where's the easiest place to find y'all? Is that on
Yeah.
Twitter,
Just
Instagram? You know what I
honey.finance.
mean?
That's the hub for everything else. Just honey.finance, and then you'll find whatever you're looking for.
Awesome. Yeah, man. On that note, I'm gonna, I guess, go ahead and wrap it up. Kind of like beforehand, I'm gonna go ahead and mute for a quick second. But I want to say thank you for coming on and taking some time out of your again evening and night and just sharing the experience and letting us know about Honey D5. So I appreciate it, man.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
For sure, for sure. Stick around for a quick second. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you know what time it is. Episode 77 in the mix, big baby. Shout out to y'all, chat. Shout out to Honey D5. If you're not already, go ahead and follow them. Follow us as well on ThugBirdz, ThugPod, and ThugDAO. Till next time, y'all, stay fresh, stay clean, stay positive. Hey, you know what time it is, y'all. Caw-caw.